You're right, and it's not just a national perspective. There certainly are local fans who, some of which I'm acquainted with, that take the position that the Browns are not winning because of Brian Hoyer. They're winning despite Brian Hoyer. I think really what you see in national media sometimes is that you see they see some highlights and they see Brian Hoyer throwing a couple of crucial, crushing possible picks in the fourth quarter, and they see that he had 3 interceptions on the day and no touchdowns, and they look at that and they say, wow, Brian Hoyer had a horrible day. Well, you look at Brian Hoyer's line, and he threw for 300 yards again for the second consecutive week, and he was, 25 out of 35. He didn't have a horrible day. He had a couple of bad throws that hurt his team and that potentially could have lost the game absent his own heroics in the last 44 seconds. So I think maybe people look at that, they don't look closely enough at the game, and they say Brian Hoyer had a horrible game. Now, you and I and any number of fans can debate that all day long, whether he did or didn't have a horrible game, or whether horrible was the right word to describe the game or not. But I think a lot of times those national commentators are operating on very limited information, probably didn't watch the football game. See him hit Miles Austin in the hands for what should have been a touchdown, right before some of the bad stuff happened.
Yep.
We're making a judgment based on limited info.
No, I agree with you, man. I'm right there on that, and it's just funny to see that. I get a kick out of that, and how so many different people, whatever level they're at, look at things and see completely different things. And I don't know if you heard. I know you listened some of the days that you're not on. I don't know if you heard what I was saying yesterday about why I am where I am with Brian Hoyer compared to some people. I said I get the different opinions. If you look at Brian Hoyer as a finished product, if you say this is a cat he is what he is and he will never change. He's been in the league for 10 years and he's always been consistently this percentage and that percentage and this rating. Okay, but to me, when you're looking at a guy who is still a rookie for all intents and purposes, he's just a rookie with a whole lot of experience. I liken it to a guy that played all 4 years at a high-level college, whether he played or watched or whatever. He was inundated for that long, whereas, some of these guys come in. What was the old thing I heard? Some people used to believe, was it 100? Was it Schottenheimer? There were several coaches that used to believe that it was like 140 starts at quarterback through your various runs up to the pros on the different levels before you truly begin to get comfortable with it and really start to settle in and learn all. You know what I mean? So even guys that have played a year or two in college don't have anywhere near the experience level that they need to be to do on a daily basis what you need to do in the NFL. But I look at Hoyer and I say, if you think he's done, then hell yeah, we need to have a different conversation, because at that point, he is a stopgap to the next guy. But if you look at him like I do, which is a guy, and I think you look kind of the same way, Dan, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, as a guy who is essentially a rookie with a veteran's mindset, and you go, well, who says that he can't improve his accuracy over the next few years? Like I said, when a guy wants to get better at shooting foul shots in the offseason, he shoots 500 or 1,000 foul shots a day, and he puts some percentage points on his shot the next season. If Brian Hoyer wants to improve his accuracy, he can stand out in the Cleveland winter and throw 500 passes into the wind every day, and he can get his arms stronger, and he can get his accuracy better. So if you look at him under that light, as, wow, I'd like to see what he develops into for the next year or two, that's where you get fans and people having two completely different opinions, because some people go 20 plus years old, almost 30, been in the league for a couple of seasons, he is what he is. Other people go, wait a minute, less than 16 starts, he hasn't even had one full season yet. You wouldn't be saying that about Brandon Wheaton or Colt McCoy. Well, that's a bad example, but he's still on my mind. Johnny Football, whatever. Any of these guys who need more than one season to get their career going. But you'll say it about Hoyer. I don't know where you're at, but I see him as far from a finished product, and I think that is the separation between the people that like him and the people that don't.
Well, yeah, I'll make a couple points. Yeah, first of all, you hear it from NFL scouts all the time that they would prefer that quarterbacks, especially if they're drafting quarterbacks high in the draft, that these guys not be, and Manziel and Jameis Winston, these guys are great examples. Redshirt freshmen, the winning Heisman's coming out and thinking they're going to take the NFL by storm. They simply don't have the number of starts in college games that you like to see. Guys like Matt Castle, I remember, came out of USC. He'd never started a game at USC, and yet he was drafted fairly high. And these guys just simply don't have the experience. I'm a believer like you that, first of all, let's make the point that earlier in the season, when Brian Hoyer was leading the Browns to several wins, his accuracy was considered one of his strengths, not one of his weaknesses. People were not talking about Brian Hoyer's lack of passing accuracy as being a problem. Now, all of a sudden, he has a couple games, he overthrows some balls, he has a couple key picks, and all of a sudden, that counts as a strike against him. But I believe that you're right. You always hear this famous saying that, the definition of insanity is doing something over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yes.
Well, it was pointed out to me not long ago, that's also a pretty good definition of practice. Where you do something over and over again and you do expect a different result. You'll get better. If you shoot 5,000 3-point shots in basketball, your shot's going to improve. If you practice, you can improve. Now, I don't know about Brian Hoyer's arm strength getting better. Certainly, he has some physical limitations that he's not Andrew Luck, never will be. So you have to concede that. But can he get better? Of course, he can get better, and experience is part of that, and practice is another part of it. And the guy's dedicated. He's serious about his profession. And I absolutely agree with you that a guy who's basically in his first year as a starter in the NFL, to say that he is what he is and is never going to improve, I think that's just short-sighted and crazy.
I mean, he's a unique situation because traditionally I could get fans that do that. They look and they go, well, he's got this many years already in the league but like we were just saying, it's a unique situation that there was never, ever he was never in a situation where he became the backup based on the way everything played out. He went to a team where you're the backup. Welcome to the team.
That's I had a Hall of Fame.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so that makes it different. It's not like he had the shot 2 years in a row. He lost out in training camp. Well, this guy, he's just kind of meandering around the league and whatever, so there's a different aspect of it there. And even with the accuracy dropping, as you said, remember earlier in the year, that was a strong point. That was Brian Hoyer will take care of the football and he won't throw it away. I'm not, and some people that don't like Hoyer will say, oh, J-Rock's making excuses, but I'm just saying, as you guys like to mention how many quarterbacks make it through 16 games in a season, how many times has Brian Hoyer started and completed this many games in a season? The answer is none. So guess what? When he hits the offseason, whatever the Browns' record is, if they win 8, 9, 10 games, whatever it is, when Brian Hoyer hits the offseason, do you think that right at the top of his checklist isn't, I wore down as the season went on, I need to work on strengthening this, I need to get a routine for this, because now he knows how his body reacts to the ups and downs and the rigors of a whole NFL season. Because I do believe that getting later in the season is part of the reason why he's having a little bit of issues, because now you got the weather and maybe a little bit of the dead arm, but you fight through it. And that's where you put your list of training for the offseason together and you go attack it in the offseason.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the other things, not just dead arm, but possibly, dead body. I mean, this kid has taken a beating this year. We've all seen it. He's taken some wicked shots, and you never, they don't publicize the little stuff, the little nagging things, the sore knee, the sore elbow, the bruised sternum, whatever it is that you get from playing quarterback in the NFL. I'm sure he's beat up. I'm sure he gets up on Monday mornings and, sometimes doesn't want to get out of bed. Because he's been, and frankly, he hasn't been, the opponents, in my opinion, haven't been penalized near enough for some of the late shots that they put on Brian Hoyer. I don't know why he can't seem to get a call. But, wear and tear over the course of the year. And like you say, first time he's ever been through it, he's obviously going to learn some things from it. He's obviously going to tailor his off-season for that. And part of me hopes that, when he's in that off season, that he's already got a contract signed with the Browns. I hope that they can come to terms. I am not in favor of signing him to a 4-year deal. And I'm sure that's probably what his agent will be looking for. But we've had that discussion. We'll have it again. But I think your point is well made that a first-year starter can maybe not count on, but might be expected to improve in his second and third and fourth and fifth years as an NFL starter. That seems like common sense to me.
I mean, for everybody but Brian Hoyer, people will say things like, well, think about it. They only played this many games in college. They're reaching the wall. What's at the wall? Where people always hit the wall after week 10 or 11 in their rookie season because they're not used to playing that many games. And I'm like, man, people throw that out all the time. But, Brian Hoyer's not allowed to hit the wall. He has to just run. Like you said, he's also not allowed to get flagged for getting hit too hard because, he's just tough little old Brian Hoyer. He just bounces up and keeps going. And if he pauses 5 seconds to look for a flag, he may be replaced. So he just keeps going right back to the line and running the next play. He doesn't care.
Yeah, maybe he needs to flop a little bit more, lay out there and pretend he's dead. Maybe
flops too hard, if he flops too hard, if he pulls a LeBron, he will get taken out of the game. The coaching staff will be too worried about him, and then he might never get back in. This is Wally Pipp syndrome, bro. He has seen this movie.
Yeah, I suppose so. You're right, because last time, even just a couple games ago, he got laid out on a play and laid there for 2 seconds, and sure enough, Johnny was up on the sidelines throwing a football. So, yeah, it doesn't take long, and he's probably afraid of being Wally Pipp.
Telling you, man, every morning when he leaves for the game, his wife gives him a kiss and says, don't forget, get right back up. I got it, honey. I know. And anyways, hey, you know what? Speaking of his thought process heading into this game, going to be a little bit extra on his mind as he's going to face the team that we talk about making it through 16 games. This is the team that made that not happen for him last year and really opened up all these questions about Brian Hoyer that led into this season. So here he's going to take on the team that took him out. You've got Mike Pettin taking on his former team, and you do have a very aggressive. There's a reason they hurt Hoyer last year. That's a very aggressive defense. They got a lot of sacks this season. Those guys are going to try to get after, and they're going to try to impress their former coach, who's now on the other sideline a bit, and go, hey, remember us over here? You helped us build this defense that's going to try to tear you apart.
Yeah, no doubt. These guys have as good a front four as anybody with Mario Williams and Marcel Darius and these guys. They are rugged, and they'll come after you. It's weird. It's not like Brian Hoyer got hurt last year on a sack or something the defensive line did. It was running down the sidelines on a scramble. We haven't seen Brian Hoyer doing a whole lot of that this season. I'm sure that's by design. It's more than by accident. But yeah, their front four is fierce, and they're going to come after him. And there's the Pettin factor. There's also the factor of this Buffalo Bills team is, coming back home after being, mistakenly, on the road last week when they shouldn't have been. And I'm sure their fans will be all jacked up to have them back home and, to park their snow shovels in their driveway and come out and cheer on their team. So I think it'll be an emotional game for the Bills. Their fans back after a week away, and the team playing well, and going to be tough to pull out a win up there in Buffalo, I'm sure.
I will say this: they do have they got with Gordon, of course, that factor, and with the running attack. That's how you slow down that speed rush. You hit them with the run, you hit them with some draws up the middle there, and they can do that. And with that and the respect that you got to pay to the receivers now that you add Gordon there, that may just open you up just enough there. You said Hoyer. Have you noticed? Because I was talking to a buddy about this yesterday. It's maybe just been the last week or two that it seems like Brian Hoyer, and that'll show you mentally, it's taken him 11 weeks into the season here where he's just now started to get out there and not be afraid to run, pick up that free 10 yards when they give it to him, because teams were giving it to him because they didn't see him really getting out there and taking it. And last week there were 2 or 3, and I think the week before as well there was one where he saw it and said, and you could see the first one a couple weeks ago, it was a little stutter step like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and do this, man. And last week he had 2 or 3 open up where he said, you know what, and he looked more comfortable and confident, but he wasn't doing that earlier, which tells me mentally he's just now finally saying, hey, now they're not going to hurt me. I've got to get out there. They're giving it to me. Let's go out here and take it. And I like that because people say, oh, well, Manziel can get out there and scramble. I'm not comparing the two, but it will help Hoyer's case if there's a free first down to be picked up and he can go get it.
Yeah, you're right. And we have seen that more recently. I hope he's been practicing his hook slide. It was really sort of an awkward attempt at a slide last year that got him injured in the first place. Sure helps to have the sideline as your friend there too. If he's running toward the sidelines, it's a